lights down. Is anybody going to fall asleep? Because I think you'll see this a lot better. So, ta-da. Ooh. Okay. Well, my name's Leslie Paige, and I'm an administrator here at Fort Hays State University, and I work in the Office of Scholarship and Sponsor Projects, which means grants, research grants for faculty, and also research compliance, yes, to help people make sure their research is following all the rules. And then also I help with the undergraduate research experience, which is one of the reasons why I'm here today to talk to you. And my background is as a school psychologist. I was a school psych for about 25 years before I came here to the university. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is based on a lot of experience helping nervous people and just what I know. So we're going to be talking about how to prevent and reduce and manage stress. And stress is something that a lot of us experience, and a lot of you are here for GRE prep and for other help through the Honor Society, so probably no stranger to stress. So in our talk today, we're going to talk about how stress is natural. Everybody experiences stress. We'll talk about the different stressors or the sources of stress, and we'll talk about how stress can help you and how it can hurt. And we'll also talk about some strategies you can use to help manage and cope with stress. So those are our goals for tonight. And at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to blurt them out, and I'll try to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I promise I'll make something up. That's a joke. You're allowed to laugh. Okay, I'm known for my corny jokes, so I hope that I hear at least a chuckle here and there. Okay, so what is stress? Well, stress is basically some kind of a stressor, something that causes stress, and resulting in change. And then your body and your mind experience what we call stress. And the stressors come from a lot of different areas in our lives. The environment continually changes, so that causes stress. And when we get the stress from the environment, it means that we need to change something. And then stressors are also sources of change. So stress comes from a lot of directions. And stress can help or hurt us depending on how we react to it. You can have different kinds of effects from stress, physical and emotional effects, and it can create either positive or negative feelings. With a positive influence from stress can help you to improve your performance. So you've got a deadline, you've got a big paper due, and you feel a little stressed about it, or maybe a lot stressed about it, so it gets you to start working on your paper and getting it done before the deadline. But stress can also interfere with your ability to function. So same thing, you've got a deadline, a big paper coming up, and you feel overwhelmed and you can't even get started on it because you just feel like you'll never get it done, it's too impossible, it's too big. So stress can help motivate you, or it can help overwhelm you. So let's talk about the sources of stress. So weather can be stressful. Ask anybody who is in Texas or Florida recently, where they had the hurricanes, and you saw the people on TV. They all looked pretty stressed, didn't they? They'd lost their homes. They were freaked out about the weather. They had, lost a lot of their possessions, things like that. Living here in Kansas, a lot of times we have thunderstorms and pretty dramatic weather, and that can also be stressful, as can ice or snow. So weather can be stressful, but if you live in a place like we were talking about California earlier, if you live in a place like LA where there's a lot of pollution, that can be stressful. Your eyes tear and you don't feel comfortable, and it doesn't feel very good when it's really polluted. Noise can be very stressful. Who's ever tried to study and say the person next door to you has got their music on really loud, or they're having a party, right? And it's really loud. Yeah. So that can be really stressful. You have to study, you have to get ready for a test or for a class, and it's too noisy. Temperature can make you very stressed. So I'm a person who's always hot, and when it gets really, really hot, I freak out because I'm not comfortable, my body doesn't feel good, and I don't function very well when it's really hot, which is why my office is always freezing cold. But other people don't like it when it's really cold, and so that can stress them out. Traffic, high density traffic, big crowds, these are all sources of stress that are from the environment. Social stress can be, well, tests. Tests can be a social stressor. You want to have an A or the highest grade perhaps, or just plain pass a test. That can be a source of stress. Demands from your family wants you to major in something or wants you to come home for the weekend and you have to study. Those types of things can also be stressful. Pressure from your peers. Peers are trying to get you to go out and go drinking or partying, but you have other things you need to do. You need to go to work, you need to study. So that can be stressful, resisting peer pressure, job interviews, deadlines. Those are all sources of social stress. So we've talked about environmental, we've talked about social. Physical stress is also there. If you've ever been hurt physically, that's a source of stress. If your health is poor, you're very stressed, etc. College students frequently live on poor nutrition foods. Ramen noodles are not known for being very healthy. Ramen noodles and beer. Neither of those things provide your body with good nutrition, and that can be stressful as well. And of course, lack of sleep. And then the last source of stress could be cognitive. And this is where you're worrying about stuff, or you have too much to do, you want to get a perfect score, and you put yourself under a lot of stress, and it's stress cognitive in terms of how you think about things. So there's generally environmental, social, physical, and cognitive sources of stress. So what happens when you're stressed? What happens when you're stressed? What do you do?
You don't want to know.
Okay, I don't want to know. Okay.
I threw my keys up against the wall at work.
Okay, so you just express yourself physically.
No, I mean, yeah, not usually.
You don't throw it at somebody, you throw it at the wall.
It was a bad circumstance.
Okay, so sometimes we just kind of lose it when we're stressed.
It's lack of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you all do? What do you do when you're stressed?
I mostly just listen to music.
Okay, and what does the music do?
Well, if I play video game music, it makes me focus so I can get things done better.
Okay. And sometimes people will use calming music. And yeah, what's calming music for me may be really irritating to you. I really love opera, and most of you might think that's really irritating. But other people will do other kinds of music, classical music, new age music, rock and roll music, country music, whatever works for you. Sometimes that can help with stress. What kinds of feelings do you have when you feel stressed?
Anxiety usually comes with stress, and then trying to do everything all at once, and then you get nothing done.
And what does anxiety feel like?
For me, it feels like that I'm not going to accomplish everything, or no matter how hard I work on something, I'm not going to get it done, and I'm going to miss a deadline or something like that. And it's just like nervous feelings, I guess.
Okay, describe some of the physical things that happen when you're feeling anxious.
Heart racing, palm sweating, dry mouth. I don't know.
Anybody else feel those types of physical symptoms? Dry mouth, heart's going, sweaty, maybe nausea. That's all normal, and there's a reason for that. It's what we call the fight or flight. Has anybody ever heard of fight or flight? Okay, I'm talking to people who already know this stuff, right? Fight or flight, and basically this is based on, it's hardwired into us. Biologically, if in ancient times, people from the prehistoric times had to be prepared to fight or run away. Human beings are not particularly well equipped to fight off a larger animal. Our fingernails aren't very useful, our teeth are pretty poor, and so as a result, we either had to hit or run away. Now what happens with fight or flight? Again, it's hardwired, so when you experience this, you have a sudden flood of epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisols, and all these other hormones, and basically it causes these physical changes. So it helps your body to be ready to fight off the saber-toothed tiger. Okay. So the blood goes to the large muscle groups. Why would your body want to have blood in the large muscle groups?
Strength.
Strength, and also to make you very fast, right? So it goes to the large muscles. The veins in your skin contract. You get goosebumps. Why is that? So you feel kind of cold and clammy? It's taking the blood from your skin to those big muscle groups. Okay, that's why you get the goosebumps. So you don't have as much blood then in your skin to keep it warm. Your blood glucose level also increases. This is the energy that your body needs. So your muscles get really, really tense, and they're all, flooded with adrenaline and the glucose, and you'll feel your skin just get really, really tight. And again, this is part of your preparation to run away or fight the saber-toothed tiger. The smooth muscles relax. Now the smooth muscles would be like your gut, a lot of the muscles that are inside your body that help your body do things like digest. And that's because when you're needing to fight for your life or run away, your body doesn't need to be digesting food. Everything is going to the large muscles and to your heart and to your lungs. Let's see, what else? Your immune system also shuts down.
That's not good.
That's not good. Yeah. And also, basically, all this energy is going to your large muscles. So what happens to your brain? It doesn't work very well either when you're really stressed. So the brain basically is focusing on the threat. So your eyes dilate, your brain is focused on the threat, you don't feel too aware of what else is going on. And that's to help you find a tree to climb up, or the best way to fight or run away.
Is this why so many people get sick around finals time and midterms?
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons, because the immune system isn't working very well.
Boy.
That's why they restrict a lot of the in the hospitals. That's why we restrict a lot of people in the restraint chair, because the longer you're fighting, the more you can cause death in a patient because of all these things that are
All these things that are happening. So your body is just flooded with all these cortisols and epinephrine and all these hormones that are causing smooth muscle to shut down, your eyes to dilate, and most of your blood is going to the large muscles. So these are the symptoms. We talked about it: dry mouth, muscle tension, your chest gets really tight, your mouth gets dry because you don't need saliva when you're running for your life. That's one reason. Your neck and shoulders get very, very tight, and that's, again, the oxygen is going to your muscles. Your chest gets really tight. Sometimes people have difficulty breathing, and that's because your body is having too much oxygen. Because you're trying to, again, to run away, you get too much oxygen. If that goes on too long, that's really pretty dangerous. So to compensate, your lungs basically compress, and that's why you can't. You sweat, and that's because all those hormones are creating a lot of energy in your muscles. So that's why you get clammy when you're really, really stressed. And your body is really working very hard to try to get that blood circulated to the large muscles. It creates a lot of heat, so you sweat to cool down. And then also because your digestive system is being shut down, because that isn't important if you're running for your life, you start getting nauseous sometimes. Usually you feel that after the event. You kind of feel shaky and nauseated. Sometimes people will pee or excrete because, again, your body doesn't need to be dealing with things like processing the kidneys or the digestive tract. So sometimes people will evacuate their bowels. You see that a lot of times with little kids when they panic, they pee. Well, sometimes that happens to adults too. Because you're overloaded with adrenaline and all this oxygen levels going about, you will get dizzy. You may feel lightheaded. Again, with the adrenaline, which is a very powerful drug, your concentration will be really poor. So sometimes people will relate after an emergency event that they don't remember anything that happened because you're just focusing on just, making it through the moment. Sometimes people will report that things seem really distant or like they're in a tunnel because you're kind of shutting down all that peripheral vision. Your pupils are dilated very, very large as a result of all this hormone. Also, sometimes people flush or blush, and again, this is the adrenaline, again, causing your blood vessels to dilate in order to get that oxygen delivered to where it needs to be. So you'll flush or blush. That goes along with feeling pretty hot.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, and some people flush or blush very easily. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
But basically what's happening is with your veins dilated like that, it allows the blood to transport more quickly through your body. A lot of times people will have difficulty breathing. And this is again because your lungs, your throat, everything is opening up as much as possible to get in that oxygen. And again, this is because you're trying to circulate your blood a lot more quickly, and then that'll lead to panting, shallow breaths, things like that. And of course your heart beats faster with all this adrenaline in it. And then a lot of times people will get like trembly, shaky. Usually you don't even notice it until after the event's over. And part of that is because of that, all of a sudden you have all this adrenaline in you, and you gotta get rid of it. Okay, so that's what it feels. This is a biologically hardwired reaction to stress, right? Well, daily stressors, we react the same way we do with the fight or flight. So when you feel stress, environmental stress, cognitive stress, all the things we talked about, social stress, etc., the hormones are released. The same hormones that were used to prepare your body to run away or to fight. And as a result, it activates the fight or flight response, even if you're not having to run away from something or to fight it. And over time, the constantly having these hormones flooding your system through the fight or flight response results in a cumulative buildup over time. So, here's a glass of water. I tried to get one, but I don't have one with me, so let's pretend I'm holding this glass of water. So how heavy is it? A glass of water isn't very heavy, is it?
Depends on how long you hold it.
Thank you very much. It doesn't matter how much it weighs, but what does matter is how long I hold it. So if I hold it for a minute, it's not going to be a problem. And if I hold it for an hour, I bet my arm is going to start aching, and if I hold it for a whole day, I might need to go to the doctor the next day. But in each case, it's the same amount of water in the glass. The glass doesn't get any heavier. But what happens is the longer I hold it, the heavier it feels, and that's the same way with stress. If we carry our stress all the time, sooner or later it gets too heavy. Just like that glass of water can get too heavy if I hold it like this all the time. Just like the glass of water, if I put it down and rest, I'll be better, and then I can pick it up again. Okay, stress is the same way. When we're refreshed, we can carry on and deal with the stress. We have to be able to set down our burden from time to time in order to rest. And then we can go back to dealing with stress. But what happens is we get in the habit of carrying that stress around all the time and never putting it down. So one of the things that we talk about is the need to be able to relax, put down the stress, and then carry on. Okay, let's see if we can get this slide to go. Hello. Okay, why is that not working? Now I'm feeling stressed. Okay, so different ways people experience stress. This is a result of carrying the stress around a lot. They get migraines, they get stomach aches, have a lot of problems sleeping. You may have high blood pressure if you do this long enough, a depressed immune system, increased heart rate, muscles that are tight all the time. These are symptoms of stress. And they're just very much related to the same symptoms we talked about with the fight or flight response. Emotionally, if you're really stressed, you may throw the keys at the wall.